sitting here.
So we're good?
Yeah, just leave.
Ready, Coach? Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. Just wrapped up player interviews with the Port Barre Red Devils. Senior leadership, you can see it in the building here. These guys have been playing a lot of downs for the Port Barre Red Devils. A lot of them played their freshman year and made their way in. Leaders in the locker room and will have big impacts come to the 2025 season. Coach, thank you for taking some time to sit with me. Always an honor to come back home.
Yes, sir, Jordy. I always appreciate you coming, man. Love what y'all doing here.
Your thoughts of the players' interview just now? That's 3 good ones right there.
It is. It is. You know, you hit it on the head. This year's senior group. You know, I knew when they came in as freshmen. They're special. They're a very close knit group. So many different personalities, yet they all mesh so well together. You know, like I said, I coming into this year, I knew we had something with them besides the talent. I mean, between you know, we got a couple of seniors that can play some ball.
Yep.
But it's beyond that. You know, like I said, they just work so well together. They've been really fun to coach.
That's the head coach of Port Barre Red Devils.
Probably about the same as I have the last 2 years. There's always talent here. There, ever since I've been here. I mean, I've been. This is year 8, year 3 as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's always talent here. Like any other year, we're an injury or two away from being in some trouble. You know, we don't have the depth that a lot of these schools do. Being such a small town, such a small school, you know, one guy goes down. That's not only one position. You know, in many cases, we lose one injury turns into a loss of a starter on offense and on defense and on special teams.
And a backup, another position.
You know, and then another back. You know, so. You know, the depth is always a concern. You know, and I think I literally think I've said this the last 3 years. I like our starting 11 on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
I think we can compete with anybody that's on our schedule. They is showing up and they're putting in the work. They're doing a little extra. You know, there's a lot of guys that are taking it upon themselves to get the extra reps and kind of go above and do a little bit more. You know, so I'm excited heading into the season. I think we got a good young core, and I think all the pieces are there. We just got to put them in the right spot.
Right. Coach, how soon did you get back to work knowing you got kids going off playing other sports and you've had a child in that process and you've had a lot on your plate? How soon did you get back to work?
I don't think I ever stopped.
Yeah.
I mean, that's... You know, I filled out a faculty survey today and they asked me what my hobbies are, and I said, you know, it's my family and football. I mean, that's really, you know, and both of those, you know, I don't have time for anything else. You know, we were blessed last year. We got a surprise baby girl, and you know, she's been wonderful. She's been a handful. You know, she's had her own health issues that's kind of put a hamper on us this summer, and you know, which for everyone watching, you know, that's the only way you can get better and not get complacent. So the work for me has never stopped. Now with the kids, you know, when you lose 60% of your roster to the baseball team, you know, in the spring, you know, it's hard to get a lot of teamwork done. You know, the good thing is those guys are staying active.
Yeah.
You know, they're playing basketball, they're playing baseball, they're powerlifters, so they're getting their lifts in. You know, but it is a struggle, and it's a change from.
Want to open the door real quick? All right, go ahead. Back to Eunice spring game.
So yeah, we played Eunice in the spring, and you know, they're a much improved team. Like I said, you know, Eunice fans are gonna be excited to see them play this year. You know, but they exposed a lot of areas that we need to work on, especially one of the biggest takeaways I'm finally getting out of the mentality of I've come from big schools. You know, I've coached at 3 4A schools before I came here. We had the luxury of having guys who could play one way, and we can rest. You know, I can rest my linebackers when we're on offense. I can rest my running backs when we're on defense. Little Port Barre, we can't do that. And that was a sit down I had after the spring game, just to kind of show them that we need to get some Ironman football. It's about getting the 11 best guys on the field at all times, whether it's offense, defense, even special teams. So it's been more what I wanted to address coming out of spring, going into the summer was conditioning, because guys I've never had the thought of starting my quarterback as a free safety and a punt returner. I mean, I don't laugh at myself, 5 years ago saying, but I mean, look, it's about getting these kids some wins and about putting them in the best position to win. And I don't think it's fair to the rest of the team if I'm not putting the best guys in the best positions that they can play and help us win. Now, with that in mind, we're fighting not only to get those guys in better shape to where they don't have to come off the field. We're fighting to get. Let's find some young guys that can help us and not hurt us when they're on the field.
Right.
And I think we've got a couple guys that are stepping up. We've got a couple of sophomores that my goal is, like I said, can you go in there and give me 3 plays where you're not a liability? We know you're a JV guy. We know you might not be ready for those big boys yet, but can you go in there for 2 or 3 plays, just so my guys can get some water and not hurt your team? And I think it happened. They're about to play 10, 12, 13 weeks of football, and their breaks might only come, like a kid like Bailey and Tallis, their breaks will come at halftime. But that's about it.
Correct. Once the summer wraps up, in your opinion, how will this group win the summer?
I think we're doing it already. We're winning with attendance. Even guys who I kind of had penciled in as like they're going to be a problem. I'm going to have trouble with them. They're showing up. They're putting in the work, and they're buying in. And a lot of it, I guess that's one shining moment or silver lining about having a disappointing season is, they took it personal and they took it upon themselves like we're not going to do it again. So they've been showing up. So I mean that's a win in itself. I don't care about the 7-on-7 results.
Right.
We went out there and we competed. We did really well at the Catholic Point Compete tournament. Not so well yesterday at St. Ed's. But again, at the end of the day, we're 0-0. It's about going out there. And I saw what I needed to see out of my guys. They went out there and they competed. They never gave up. They never quit. They showed me a lot of good flashes of what could be, and we just got to fine tune some things. And again, I think that a win for me at the end of the summer is coming out of the scrimmage and the jamboree healthy and in shape. If we're sucking wind after a scrimmage, then we didn't have a good summer.
Okay.
If we're sucking wind after a 20-minute jamboree, we didn't have a good summer. And I don't think that'll be the case because, like I said, these guys are putting in the work. So.
The importance of getting off to a good start this year starts in the scrimmage. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Feeling some momentum going into week 1 when you have to play Crowley, getting off to a good start.
It's vital. I mean, look, every coach will say it's a scrimmage. We don't care if we win or lose. That's bull. We care. I mean, we care. The kids care. We know at the end of the day it doesn't go on your record. We might not be game planning quite as hard. You're not going to see, I know you like to call me a riverboat gambler. You're not going to see any of my trick plays or anything like that. I mean, I'm not pulling that stuff out in the scrimmage. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to win. Those kids, I mean, you play sports to compete. Anybody that tells you you're not trying to win a scrimmage is just flat out lying.
Coach, I've seen the hook and lateral at the spring scrimmage this past year. So
yeah, not saying it can't happen. But, no, but it's vital, especially like I said. I hate to keep harping on last year, but it's a constant reminder of we've got to show up every day. We've got to show up every week.
Yeah.
When you're scratching and fighting for any success, hell, a successful scrimmage is a win in my book. It's going down on my win record. And it gets the kids motivated, showing them that they can play. And we play Oberlin every year for the scrimmage, and I absolutely love playing Oberlin.
They're coming right at you.
because they're a lot like what I would like us to be. They're consistently a quality program. They got some hard-nosed country boys. You'll know right off the bat that if our guys are ready for a fight because they're coming to fight.
Yeah.
Last year they got off the bus with like 25 kids, and they punched us in the mouth, and we punched back. We fought back again, but like it's a good test right off the bat to see exactly where we are physically and mentally, because they're gonna make you make mistakes. They're gonna make you they're gonna make you grind every yard you get. So it's a great test. I love this scrimmage with Oberlin. Coach Ware does a good job with that program, and like I said, it's a good measuring stick about where we're at and where we need to get to.
Introduce your coaching staff.
This won't take long. Unfortunately, we lost a couple coaches to transition. They transitioned to different schools. Coach Longflow is back as my defensive coordinator. Everybody in Port Barre knows who Coach Longflow is. He's been here forever. He's been my right hand since I took over, and he's been awesome.
Coach me.
Yeah. He's coached pretty much probably everybody watching right now. We're excited. We brought back Coach Caleb McRaniels to be helping out on kind of doing a little bit of everything on offense and defense, mainly with the secondary and with the receivers. He was a good addition last year. We're excited to have him back. He's also taken over as our head basketball coach, so he's excited about that.
Okay.
We brought back sort of Port Barre legend, Jacques Swallow. We all know Coach Jacques, what he did with the softball team a couple years back. I'm really excited to have him back. He's going to be helping with the offensive line, defensive line. He's been back for 2 weeks. He's already making an impact. So he's doing a good. We're excited to have him. And we're still in the process of trying to iron out a few more guys. We're going to have some new middle school coaches. Coach Jason Burns is going to be taking over our middle school, and Andy Amon is going to be helping him out. So we're getting the pieces right. There's still a couple pieces I have left to fill. And, worst case, heck, we got a new principal that's ready to come coach some ball.
Right.
He's ready to roll up his sleeves, man. I'm so excited to have him around. I was joking with my wife. I said I have a little man crush on him. He's coming in, said, doing all the right things so far. He's a very big football guy. So, I said we're really excited to have Mr. McIntosh here. Matter of fact, we got to call Coach Mac.
You have to catch yourself sometimes.
Yeah. And like I said, he said, call me Coach Mac. That's me. But yeah, I mean that's it. Like we're thin on the coaching staff. It is what it is. We'd love to get some more bodies. So we're in the process of looking, and hopefully we're gonna get at least one more. But we're always working. We're always looking. So but I like the guys I have now. So
yeah,
that's what we got to roll with, and that's what we're gonna roll with.
Let's go to your quarterback. We've talked about Tyler's the last 3 years, me and you. Now we have a shot to see another guy take some reps this year. You might have yourself a 2-quarterback system this year, or it might just be one. I don't know what's up your.
Well, there's
plan.
no might. They're both playing.
Yeah. So there you go. So 2-quarterback system. You ever experience a year where you had to do something like this?
Surprisingly, yes.
Okay.
And I compare it very similar to what I had a situation a couple years back. I had 2 quarterbacks. I had a returning starter who was a heck of an athlete, very much like Tyler. Had a great arm, but he was very valuable as a receiver, as a DB. And I had another quarterback who was behind him, and everybody knew he was that guy coming up. He could sling it. He was more of a pocket passer. Mm-hmm. He wasn't the most, he could run when he had to, but he was a thrower. And in a very similar situation, the junior athlete, he actually came to us his senior year and was like, colleges are kind of looking at me more as a receiver. I'll play some receiver. This guy's, this guy's ready. So he made that decision easy for us. But yeah, and so we went in the next year, and it was almost. He kind of passed the torch. He went over to receiver and ends up going to play receiver at Southern. So it worked out well for him. He got to showcase his ability on the field.
Yeah.
And we still use him a little at quarterback because he was dynamic with the ball. He was a heck of a player. And the young guy stepped up as a junior, and heck, he proved why
Yeah.
the decision was easy. It's so similar to what we have right now. Tyler's, I hate to call him a quarterback because, like, I think that doesn't do it justice on what he does on the field. Because, I mean, he's a receiver. He's going to play running back. We're going to line him. He's going to be Taysom Hill. We might line him up at tight end. Heck, if I asked him to play guard, he'd probably play it.
Yeah.
But we're going to need him on defense. He's going to be in the return game. He's going to be a kicker, a punter. And Seth is more of that prototypical pure quarterback. Again, he's more of an athlete than he gives himself credit for.
And he got thrown to the fire last year.
He did. And he's ready. He stepped up, and we're going to put him in situations. But whoever's playing quarterback, the other one's going to play receiver.
Okay.
They're going to flop. They're going to switch. I mean, it's no secret. They're going to, will put us in the best position to win. I think Tyler's by far is our best receiver. I don't think it's close. So, to be able to throw the ball, he can't throw it himself.
Yeah.
And we were just fortunate. We had the luxury of being able to have somebody who's had 2 years of starting experience with injuries and things like that in Seth. That
I remember he went in 2 years ago and y'all beat Basile on the road.
We joke about it all the time. We went to Basile on their homecoming, and we called him the homecoming queen because he came in and stole the crown. He came in and then, he was so composed in that game. And like he didn't light the world on fire, but he ran the offense and he stepped up big when we needed to. And I mean, like I said, that's 2 years ago. He's 2 years older. He's bigger. He's stronger. Now he belongs on the field. And it again, kind of going back to it wouldn't be doing our team justice just because he's the backup quarterback. He's one of our best 11. He's going to get on the field.
Yeah.
So, and it makes it. Tyler's is embracing it too. He loves the idea of play me wherever. He's been having so much fun playing receiver. And going to play some defense. He's been itching to hit some people. So I mean that makes it easy too. Talis is really, and that shows the kind of leader he is. Kind of a similar situation. He actually made the comment before I even thought about it during the season last year. He made the comment. I think Seth's going to have to play quarterback. I'm going to play some receiver next year. Just like he saw the roster coming back and saw what we had. And I kind of brushed it off at the moment. I was like, look, that's next year. We'll worry about it next year. But like I said, he's embracing it. We're having fun with it. But yeah, they'll definitely both be. I can guarantee they're both going to be taking snaps in every game at quarterback. Now, to say if it's going to be 50-50, 60-40, we're not there yet. It might be more of a, this guy's rolling, I'm leaving him in. It might be some games where it's 80-20 one way or the other. But like I said, they're both going to play. They're both going to be a valuable role. And, I'm excited to have them. I mean, it's fun.
Great to hear. The running back position, could see a couple guys get some big time touches this year. The guys talked about Dito earlier. Any other faces that's really stood out to you this offseason that could take on a larger role?
We lack a lot of game experience at running back.
Yeah.
Chase has really been the guy. Like he was the guy last year, and he shared time with a senior. So it's really just him that took a bulk of our carries last year, and he's fully capable. He's fully, he's a big, strong kid. He's a goofball, but I love him to death. So he is, he's ready to take on that bigger role. But what we do have is a bunch of bodies that are capable of running the football. I actually think our running back room is deeper than we were last year because it's, again, I've transitioned away from that one side of the ball mentality, and all those linebackers, Jawan Horns is going to run the ball a lot this year. Malcolm Mallett's going to run the ball this year.
Good. I'm glad to hear this.
I'll tell anybody that we play, it ain't a secret. Bailey Rito will run the ball this year. He's going to line up in the backfield. We're going to hand it off to that big sucker, and we'll let that bulldozer run. So we're going to use those bodies that we got. We have a couple young guys that can see 4 or 5 carries in a game and be productive. So Chase doesn't have to bear it all on his own. And again, the fact that I have Seth, Tyler can take that snap and
so dynamic on the outside.
I plan. He's going to run the football a lot more than he has in the past. Not that I want to get him hurt, but again, if he would go down, I got somebody that can take snaps. I'm not worried about that. So, and again, it kind of hampered him the last couple of years where he would get frustrated, like, Coach, I can run it. I want to keep you healthy. I want to keep you upright. Well, again, I'm not trying to get him hurt, but this is last year. He wants to leave it all out there. I'm not selling him short. He's going to toe that sucker.
There we go. Coach, you lose big-time production in the receiving room a year ago. You turn to what you just said. Quarterback's going to have to go take some reps out there.
Absolutely.
Also, you got a big-time tight end that is a mismatch nightmare. Your entire receiver room, you got some guys that are having a big offseason, aren't they?
We got a couple guys that are stepping up. We're excited. You know, as I said, Tyler has really been putting on a show at the 7-on-7s, and you know he's a big time deep threat for us. Bailey over the middle has been. I mean, they've been staples of our offense the last couple of years, so everybody knows about them. Keegan Ledoux, he's a young sophomore. He's going to be a sophomore. You know, I don't think anybody would argue he might be, when it's all said and done, the best athlete on our roster. He's got a lot of potential, and he's got some burst. He's got jumping ability. He's a basketball guy. Got a good pedigree. If you know his family, his entire family is littered with athletes. You know, and he's right there with them. He's really he's stepped up big the last couple 7-on-7s on offense and defense. He's gonna have to play some safety. He's gonna play some receiver. But he's a deep threat. I wasn't sure I was gonna have coming out of spring, but he decided to commit to football, and we're excited to have him back. Brendan Purdue, he's a little water bug. He's very kind of cut in the same mold as Adam Barron. You know, where he's more that little slot, catch a bubble, do a little dance, get some yards, and I don't think he's quite as dynamic as Adam was over the top. But you know, time will tell. He'll get his chances and he'll get his opportunities. You know, we've had a couple young receivers. Tyler's little brother John's gonna have to step up and get some reps. Benton Angel's gonna have to step up and get some reps. Seth's gonna have to get some reps. You know, we're gonna throw the ball to multiple guys. You know, and replace when it comes to actually like replacing Barron.
Can you sign this? We'll come over here. Go ahead, Coach.
You know, I don't look at it as replacing a receiver. I just look at when I replace. I look at what, you know. Let's replace his production. Whereas he had 700-800 yards receiving, well, I have to replace 800 yards. Doesn't have to be through the air. You know, we're gonna run the ball a little bit more than we did last year, and we try to replace it with that. So, I think we got the pieces to do it. Like I said, but I never look at replacing one guy just like, okay, you're gonna step up and you do what he did, because I don't think many guys on our roster can do what Adam did last year. You know, but I think we'll piece it together.
Yeah. Offensive line. Excites me to hear that you got some experience returning. Guys said 4 of them.
Yes.
But I'm sure you had some guys had to play last year that's ready to step into that, maybe that 5th role.
Yeah. There's really, I mean, I'm replacing 2 starters.
Okay.
But I mean, we got 4 guys who played starter reps on the offense and defensive line.
How critical is that, right?
It's awesome. It's awesome. Like I said, I really think it's going to end up being a strength for us this year. That's probably the first time I could say that since I've been here, where we've been shuffling through offensive linemen. But this crew, Carson Dupre is a 3-year starter. Brett Menard is returning all-district kid. He's a 2-year starter. Luke Grimmett is moving from center to his what I think is his more natural. He's moving to right tackle. Luke Stagg's going to take over at our center spot, and I think, you know, like I said, when it's all said and done, he may end up being the best one. He
had a big offseason, huh?
He's a load. He plays with great leverage. He understands his body. He understands angles. You know, he's very good with leverage. I'm excited about him. He's a really, really good kid. So we're looking to replace that right guard. We have some options, some very good options. You know, we have Devin Mallett, who's going to be a senior. You know, he didn't get a lot of experience last year, but he works his butt off. He's a big kid. You know, he's itching to get on the field. He's going to get the first crack at the right guard spot. Have another little sophomore, Saleh. Didn't play as a freshman. We kind of talked him into playing, and he came out in the spring. And man, he sure looks like he loves it out there. Like, I was really surprised at how much he embraced football, and I'm excited to have it. He's been doing some really good things in the summer, and he showed us a lot of things in the spring. So I think he's kind of that next guy that'll get the first crack. But we have some depth too. We got some young guys. I mean, when I look at the roster, I mean, we got some size on that roster. Drake Thomas is a sophomore. He's every bit of 270. Cordell Pickney is a freshman who played some JV for us last year. He's 270, 280. He's having a great summer. Coach Jacques started working with the lineman. He raves about, like, man, they use their hands, they punch, they got some fight to them. So that's one area where I think it's a situation where if one guy goes down, we might not be in trouble.
Okay.
Because we got some depth there. But that doesn't take away from the starters I have. Like I said, Carson Dupre, you can't replace 3 years of starting.
Find you a solid 8.
Right. And again, those guys are gonna have to play on both sides.
There you go.
So it's gonna be a challenge for them. They're gonna have to be on the field a lot more than they used to. But yeah, I'm excited. I think we're kind of changing some offensive things up a little bit that plays a little bit more to their skill set. So I think the offensive line definitely going into week 1 will probably be our biggest strength.
Okay. Let's go to the other side of the football.
Okay.
Defensive wise, what's those conversations like right now? Yourself and Coach Lonclos, what's those conversations like right now, knowing what you have coming back, pieces you got to fill, all the little details?
Let's find the best 11. I mean, that's kind of how it was in the beginning of the spring. He was starting to buy into my mentality of playing one side of the ball.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, use him, use this guy. Well, that's your quarterback. That's your tackle. No, that's our football player. Like, you put our best 11 on the field. And we're both starting to embrace that. And again, it kind of becomes a matter of, now that we have, here's our best 11. Where do they fit the best for us?
Gotcha.
And I think there's still a couple questions that we have. We lost our free safety to the transfer portal in the summer. That stung. But look, it is what it is. It's part of the game. So we have to shuffle some things around again. So I think we'll have a good 11 out there. To sit here and tell you I know where all the 11 guys are going to be on the field.
Right.
I don't know yet. But we've actually, I was actually quite surprised this summer, especially in the 7-on-7, how well our secondary's been playing, how well our linebackers play. I think our linebacker core is probably the key to our defense. We returned Jawan. I know the kids talked about Jawan Horns.
Right.
He's a guy. He played inside backer last year. He might be moved to the outside this year because just that's where he fits for us the best. Brett Menard is going to have to play some defense this year. Malcolm, he's going from a defensive end to, we used him an outside linebacker in the spring. I actually think he might be better at the inside backer. So we're shuffling guys around. So the puzzle's not complete yet, but
yeah, find your 11.
Like I said, I think we have 11 good guys. It's like I said, it's just to piece them all together.
How do you celebrate small wins to keep the morale and focus high here?
I kind of have a 24-hour rule. I don't harp on it, but that's just kind of how any type of victory, whether it's a 7-on-7. Heck, even in the weight room, when a kid ups his max a couple pounds, that's a win. That's a small win. When they decrease their 40 time by a 1/10 of a second, that's a win. When they finish our 110 days, where last week they fell out after 10 or 12 sprints and they finished all 10 this week, that's a win. But I've always kind of been like, man, we're gonna celebrate you today. And tomorrow's different. Tomorrow's we went on Friday night. Hey, I don't want to. I'm not worried about next week. Friday night, enjoy it. You know, take your 24 hours to celebrate, to be cocky if you want to be, you know, do whatever you got to do. And on Sunday, the next week starts. And that's kind of how I've always been. So, I mean, we celebrate as much as we can. We try to pump it up. And, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, small victories are what you want, but it's not our ultimate goal.
What's the difference between a team who works hard and a team who competes every day?
It's easy to say a team works hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can name any one of our kids who comes in here. He does the workout that's on the board. They do what's prescribed. That's working hard. They go out there and they sweat. That's working hard. And we have a lot of guys that do that. Competing is different. It's one, you know, I can go out there and run a 5-minute mile. You know, I'm not competing against anybody. I'm working hard. I'm sweating. I'm tired. I'm working hard. But, you know, that's a whole lot different if you line somebody next to me and we're racing.
Yeah.
That's the mentality we're trying to instill. Is like in everything we're doing, compete with each other. You know, we try to group our guys in the weight room according to maxes. I want somebody that's going to push you. I want somebody who's a little bit stronger than you working with you, because tomorrow I want you to beat him. You know, and that's how you keep it going. You know, we do our running groups. I want guys who are comparable in speed, comparable in size. I want you to compete, and we try to embrace it. Every win, you know, even if it's just a regular sprint, you know, you're a winner. You won this one. You won this one. You come back next time, you beat him. You know what I mean? That's the competitive side that we're trying to get into. And like I said, I'm gonna tell you now, all our kids work hard.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, that competitive nature sometimes has to, you know, we got to pull that cord on a little bit sometimes just to get them going.
How do you teach mental toughness to players who haven't seen the most success?
I try to lead by example a lot. I mean, I've experienced. I think you know, I've been alive long enough. I've experienced adversity. You know, on the field, off the field. You know, I've had ups, I've had downs. You know, even last year with the injuries we had and with the situations we had to deal with. You know, I've got to show them. You know, if I'm not gonna break, if I break down, they're gonna break down.
Yeah.
You know, we were in games last year where we laid an egg, and you know, we came in at halftime and it was, you know, we still got to play 2 more quarters of football. Like I just got, you know, so I got to walk in there and embrace like look, I'm right here with you. We're gonna go through this together. We're gonna, you know, I'm gonna show you how to not quit. You know, in this day and age, it's so easy. I mean, you see it everywhere. I mean, in college football, in the pros, in every. You don't like what you're doing, quit. You know, you're having trouble with your marriage, leave them. You know, your kids are a problem, leave. You know, and you know, you got to be able to show them. I love telling stories about like, you know, when I'm having issues with my kids, or when I'm having issues with, you know, or you know, I'm having situations at home that are tough. This is how you fight through it. You know, it's so easy to quit. You know, like in college, oh, I'm not playing. I'll go transfer somewhere else. And it trickles all the way down to. You know, you got kids who are playing like coach pitch baseball. Oh, they're not playing enough. I'm gonna go start my own team. I'm gonna quit and just find the easier way out. So it's, I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but you know, I'm trying to break that mold of just giving up when it's hard.
Yeah.
Because that's so easy. You know, I had a coach tell me before that, you know, quitting is the easiest habit to start and the hardest habit to break. It's so easy to just give up, and showing them how to fight through it, and showing them, I mean, look, that's tough. But man, that's the best I can do with it.
How do you get your players to understand not just what to do, but why they are doing it?
Everything I try to instill, you know, we practice with a purpose. I'm a big, obviously, look, I'm very long-winded. I'm long-winded at practice. I'm always about practice with a purpose. This is why we're doing this rep. This is why we're doing this drill. This is why, you know, I'll tell my offensive guys, you know, you know why I've called this play 10 times in the first half, because I got something to counter it in the second half. I'm gonna pull them to sleep. So I mean, there's always a method to our madness. And look, every coach does stuff like that. So, but I'm big on. I like my kids to know the big picture, and because I think they start to understand, like, especially like, wide receiver. That's the biggest prima donna position you're gonna find. When they don't think they're getting the ball, they're not gonna run their routes. I mean, you've seen every coach that's watching can tell you they've had receivers that, they don't understand the importance of, I need you to run that post full speed, run right at the safety, get across his face. Not because you're getting the ball, but because by you doing that, you're opening up your teammate. Or even if we're running the ball, and I'll tell my receivers all the time, like, we're running the ball away from you, I want you to run a slant. Why? Because I might be play action and come and hit that slant later on. I want to see it. And I want that defensive back to realize, like, okay, he's just BSing. He's just running some stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I said, everything has a purpose. And like I said, I'm not doing anything other coaches aren't doing. I mean, that's what we do. But like I said, I like to preach that to them, like, in everything we do. I mean, whether it's stretching, this is why we're stretching this muscle, because you're going to work this muscle, in these game situations. This is why we're running this drill, because, we're going to get into this situation. You're going to remember this drill. This is what you did to succeed. And that's it. I mean, like I said,
Let's see, Coach. When you go to the practice field, you said longer teaching period, you're a teacher type of guy.
Yes and no. In here, I'm a teacher. Like, on the board, I'm a teacher. I like a fast-paced practice. Doesn't always work out that way. But, I've been a classroom teacher for 17 years.
Yeah.
I can, our new principal actually made the comment the other day. It's like, some of your best teachers are coaches because they can command a room. They can sit in the locker room with 40, 50, 60 kids and get all their attention on them. Well, then, heck, they can do that in the classroom with 20 kids. So I take my classroom time for what it is, and we get on the board and we go over all that. That way we can be fast at practice. Again, if I have to slow things down to explain, I will. But once we cross that gate on the other side of the parking lot over there, I like it to be, let's go. All the teaching, like I said, all the teaching is done, but the foundation has been laid. Let's go run it out there.
Yeah. How often do you go back to the basics, even at practice?
As often as we need. We usually, Mondays are kind of our fundamental days generally in practices. Mondays are very generic as far as what the kind of drills we do. It's more about just getting our feet back underneath us, working out a little bit of that soreness from the week before. We don't necessarily get away from it, but by Wednesday, Thursday of that week, it's not so much fundamentals. It's more like, this is the game plan. We got to start repping these plays and looking at our scheme. But like I say, anytime it's needed, we'll go back to the basics.
Yeah. I want to know how rewarding it is when you're out on the practice field and come Friday night or a couple Friday nights down the road and you finally see it click for a player. How rewarding is that?
That's why we're here. Yes, I want to compete. Yes, I want to be. I want to be a great coach. I want to make a name for myself in this profession. But at the end of the day, it's about these kids and getting them to succeed. There's nothing more satisfying than watching a kid struggle with anything, and then to see the light come on and see them find it and see them have success and experience success, and just to know that you had something to do with it. It's not about beating my chest. It's just like, I did that. I accomplished this for this kid. To me, there's no better reward. I have so many stories I can tell about kids who are just in that role. Like, I have so many kids that if you'd have asked me when they came on campus, like, this kid's never gonna play. He's so small. He's so slow. He can't catch a ball. He can't. And then by their junior, senior year, they're a starting receiver or a starting offensive lineman, and they're being productive. That's what it's all about. I've learned some valuable lessons with that. Like, you can't give up on kids too early, because you never know, they'll surprise the heck out of you.
Coach, do you build your scheme around your players or make players fit your scheme, your system?
I'm definitely a guy who builds around his players. Um, I see this as a negative, and I've had coaches tell me this actually. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none kind of guy. I'm not married to one specific scheme. I wish I was. It'd make my life a lot easier. I wish I could sit here and tell you I'm a split back veer guy. I'm a wing T guy. I'm a spread. But if I can't sit here and say I'm a spread guy, and then we come out on the practice field and I got no wide receivers to throw the ball to. I can't sit here and say we're gonna run split back veer, and I got nothing but wide receivers and a quarterback with a cannon. Or I don't have the offensive line to do it. Or things like. Again, I wish I had the luxury of being in a program where we can pump out 100 kids a season, and we can have I probably would be I'm married to this system, but we change with the times and we change with what we got. To me, it's just about putting the kids in the best possible way to win. And I mean, if it's not the scheme I love, it's not about me. It's about putting them in the spot to win. So.
What's something people outside the program might not understand about the process that you're building here?
How much goes into it? And it's like I don't want anybody to know what's going on behind the scenes. But they don't understand. Like we had this struggle with finding a new principal this year, and it's nobody's fault. I mean, it is what it is, and this is not talking about one administration over the other, but they didn't know how hard it was for us to find coaches when I had no principal to turn to like, hey, I found a coach. Can we hire him? Where's our? I don't want. Nobody can answer that question. We didn't have anybody. So again, that's struggles that we have to deal with, and that's what they pay us for. And, they don't understand. They don't see a lot of these kids' struggles at home, and struggling in the classroom, and they don't see a lot of. Our coaches have issues. Our coaches have families. Our coaches have. We had one coach this past year. He had 2 surgeries in the middle of the season. There's a lot of struggling that goes on behind the scenes. That, and again, it's not about. Please don't feel sorry for me. But at the end of the day, we're all human and we all make mistakes, and we're all doing the best we can. But it is a struggle, and I'm not a guy who can build it overnight.
Yeah.
It's going to take time, and it's going to take them all getting involved. And I'm talking about the community, the parents. It's not just getting the kids to buy in. We got to get these parents to buy in. We got to get this community to buy into what it takes to get back to that 2022 team and get back to the state championship and get back to those winning ways. It takes a village. It really does. And for the most part, our parents and our older people have been involved. I'm never gonna stop asking for more. I want more out of them. I want the best out of them. Look, this is small town Louisiana. Small town South Louisiana. I mean, we revolve around this freaking high school. And let's embrace it and roll with it.
Coach, when you have to go with smaller rosters, do you feel like it builds closer teams knowing you have a lot of guys that have to step up early?
It does. And going back to I told this to my wife when my son first decided he wanted to come to Fort Barre. I actually think this is such a cool thing. Like, you go sit in the cafeteria at school, and it's not just on the football field; it's on the baseball field. It's in the classrooms. The school is small enough that there's not a senior lunch table and a junior lunch table, and there's not a click here or click there. You sit who you sit next to, and everybody you're sitting by. I walk in and I'm seeing freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors all mingling together. And it's the same thing in the locker room. Because, again, with the lack of depth, and it kind of goes back to what we're saying, you might be a senior 3-year starter, but your backup is a freshman. So you better get to know that freshman really quick.
Right.
Because you got to coach him up, you got to help him out, and at the end of the day, there's going to be a point in time you might have to rely on that little 14-year-old kid. So you got to get him to trust you. You got to get him to buy into what you're trying to do and what you're trying to sell. But yeah, it definitely there's a camaraderie that you don't really see at a lot of big schools like between like the freshmen and the seniors, and the sophomores and the seniors. They when you walk through that locker room, you gotta embrace them all, because at one point in time, you're gonna need every single kid on this roster.
Do you feel your players understand the why behind the X's and O's better now?
I think so. Well, I said it before. That's what I preach. I like them to know why. I've been around coaches that's like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just their personality. But, it doesn't matter why. Do it because I tell you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to understand, because to me, I think I'm a complex mind. If you can get into my head and understand what I'm thinking, and Tyler is a prime. Tyler, he started to get it last year. He would kind of look over to the sideline, and he'd even tell me, I knew what you were about to call. Because he started to understand, I just called this play to set this up. I just did this to set this up. Or he even knows what I'm looking for in the secondary. So, I absolutely want to. Do they need to know it to be successful? No. But, again, I think it only helps if they understand, you understand what we're fighting for and how we're fighting. You'll be better prepared.
Yeah. You worked with a lot of quarterbacks over the years. You worked with both of these guys for the last 3, I would say.
Right. Yeah.
Talk to me about teaching your quarterbacks the correct reads pre and post snap. What goes into that process?
It's a process. It's a process. I don't have the same cookie cutter approach as a lot of other. We don't really have a system in place to say, like, I've been in the R4 system. We do the triangle reads, and again, offensive minds, they know exactly what I'm talking about. I try to keep it as simple as I can. I usually try to cut the field in half for my guys, but I think the biggest challenge with all of it is them getting out of. Once I can get them out of the mentality of, you can make a throw before the receiver gets open. Anticipate what the coverage is going to be. I think to me it's more important that they understand coverage schemes than understanding what to read.
Okay.
That kind of ties along with it, but if they understand the coverage, then they know exactly where the hole's going to be. I'm big about my reads are throw it to grass. I want you to throw it to the empty grass, because every zone has got spots, has got soft spots, and if they can recognize, pre-snap, we got 2 high safeties. Post-snap, they stayed high, so it's a cover 2 or a cover 4. I know right off the bat, I know exactly where my soft spot's going to be, where my grass is going to be, and that's where I'm looking to attack. As opposed to look at receiver number 1. He's not open. Go to receiver number 2. He's not open. Go. I've never been a big fan of that. But like I said, it can't be learned in a day. That's for sure. Seth will be the first one to tell you. He's been doing it with me for 3 years, and he's still, he's getting a lot better at it. But he's still not there yet. Tyler, it took him a long time to understand. Okay, that's what cover 3 means. Oh, that's the difference between cover 2 and cover 4. What's quarter half mean? There's a lot of teaching involved, and like I said, I will be the first one to tell you I am not a quarterback guru by any means, but it's the way I teach it, and I've had success with it.
There you go. Coach, game planning for a Friday night game. How do you prepare your team to respond when teams throw something unexpected at you?
I actually try to do it in practice a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'll every once in a while I'll just throw in a drill that we haven't done before and be ready for it. And I'll kind of go off script a lot in practice, especially calling offense. Gotta have fun with it too. But throwing them a different wrinkle, and especially like when we're on scout offense, working defense, I may come behind them and draw something up on the card that's just kind of off the wall. Let's see how they respond to it. It's kind of all a case-by-case basis. You never know. It's unexpected. You never know what's coming. Probably like last year we played South Bow. We had no idea how fast tempo they were. You couldn't really get it. You couldn't really see it on film, and that was definitely that's something that sticks out to me because it was completely unprepared for it. And I mean, I can't sit here and blame myself or blame Coach Longfellow or our kids. And, it's just something we weren't ready for. And heck, by the time we recovered and figured out what was going on, I mean, they had put up 28 points. Now we're ready for it now. But so something like I don't know. It's more about you don't have time to harp on it. You don't have time to sit there and feel sorry. Oh, they got us on this. You gotta adjust. You just gotta move forward and flush it and go on to the next play. Okay, look, they're doing this. We gotta fix it. We don't have time to sit here and complain about it. We gotta fix it.
And you don't have much time when some of these guys ain't coming off the field.
Right. And you only got 3 timeouts to burn. You can't burn one every time something new happens. Oh, let's talk about it, guys.
How do you avoid over adjusting and just stick to your identity?
I'll let you know when it happens.
Okay.
I've been coaching 17 years. And when I tell you I over game plan every single week, every single year, I swear every week I have kids. Coach, we ran these plays all week in practice, and we never ran them in the game. Well, number one, maybe we didn't need them. Look, I'll coach myself more times than I can count. And that's something I've learned and I've gotten better at. Sometimes keeping it simple is the best and most effective way. These guys in this locker room, we're simple creatures. When they're playing confident and they're playing something they know and they understand what's going on, they play faster and play harder. When you try to throw a bunch of stuff at them, their wheels start spinning, and all of a sudden, the speed's gone, the aggressiveness is gone. They're thinking way too much. And like I said, I'll be the first to tell you, I am as guilty as they come when it comes to overcorrecting and trying to overcomplicate things. I'm getting better at it.
How much freedom do you give your players to make adjustments on the field?
I wouldn't say it's more like they're allowed to make the adjustment on their own.
Yeah.
But I do think they know me well enough to be able to come to the sideline and be like, hey, what you're telling me is not working.
Okay.
Can I try this? And if it makes some sense, sure, let's give it, But I respect their opinion, and I tell my quarterbacks all the time. We do a lot of RPO stuff, and I preach this. Yes, my quarterback has rules, especially pre-snap. He sees this, and I tell my receivers, you can never guess what the receivers, what the quarterback sees. I might see something on the sideline that tells him you better not throw that damn ball. He might look at it from under center. It's like, oh, there's a window right there. I can squeeze it in. If I'm going to give him that discretion to make that call, I can't be mad at him for making the call. If that makes so, I give my quarterbacks a lot of freedom to make those throws and to make those decisions on their own, and I have to live and die with what they decide because I gave them that authority. But again, I don't think my ego's big enough to where I'll listen to a kid where they say, this isn't working, or we need to try this, or we need to take a shot here.
So let's stay there then. Yeah. What do you lean on when things are going wrong? Is it the training, the trust factor, the leadership? What do you lean on?
Kind of a little bit of everything. I mean, we got to go back to our training and understand that, if things aren't going well, that's the time to unite. That's the time to come together with our leaders, to show our grit, show our toughness. And a lot of times that's when, okay, let's get back to basics. Let's get back to let's find the 4 or 5 plays that we had success with, and let's hammer the heck out of those. Let's find a few coverages, a few defensive schemes that are working, and let's try not to get too crazy. Let's inch our way back into it. So again, that comes back to training and being fundamental, but also being disciplined enough to fight through the adversity.
Yeah. What do you look for from your quarterback or your defensive leader in those final minutes?
Just grit. You know, I'm very big on body language. I think I hammer Tyler more than anybody because just his personality. A lot of times, his body language, he just looks defeated, and you know, we all have a little bit of that in us too. But I'm looking for that guy. Like when things are going down, we call over the guys in the huddle, and I'm looking in their eyes. And I'm looking. Let me find that one guy that doesn't look scared of the moment right now. Let me look and see this guy's determined. Like let's put the ball in his hands. Let's put the defense on his back. Put him in a situation because he wants the moment. I'm looking for guys that want that moment. And look, sometimes they're few and far between. Sometimes you got a bunch of them. You know, I think this year's crew, I think we got a bunch of them. They're not gonna curl away when things get tough.
Position group, who needs to take the biggest leap this offseason?
Offensively, the running backs.
For the lack of game reps.
Exactly. It's a lot of guys with game experience, just not running back experience.
Gotcha.
I think they've got to be able to. I think this year we're going to need. Last year we actually threw it to open up the run game. If that makes any crazy sense, you know. But we threw the ball a lot to open up our running lanes to soften up the box. This year, I think we're going to have to run to pass a little bit more. So we're going to need those bodies. We need those guys. Defensively, our defensive line for sure has got to step up. We got pushed around way too much last year. Our defensive tackles blocked our linebackers more than anybody else. Just could get driven backwards. We got to toughen up there. We got to get some guys that are going to stand their ground and they're going to eat up some gaps and let our linebackers make some plays.
Your biggest question mark going into this season?
It was coaching. We have enough coaches just to get through the season. Right now, again, we're late in the summer. Mm-hmm. Most of my questions, for the most part, are answered. Even looking at all the small aspects of the game, I know who my deep snapper is. I know who my holder is. I know who my kick returners are going to be. I know who my kicker is, my punter is. Like all those little things, I kind of have a general idea. But biggest question, how we're going to handle the new offensive scheme.
Gotcha.
Without getting into too much detail about it.
We
like I said, we're going to have to change some things up. And I think it's for the betterment of the team.
Good.
How we handle that.
Yeah. Excited to see it. Describe a unsung hero and who could take on that role this year.
An unsung hero to me, again, is a kid who just, especially with this group, I'll even call him out by name on last year's team, Tucker Smith. Unsung hero for our team last year.
Absolutely.
He'll be the first one to tell you he wasn't the most phenomenal athlete. He was just happy to be on the field. He was happy to do something. He was happy to be able to contribute. But he was also the kid that anything you needed from him, he'd step up. I need you to go return this kick. And he'd look at me, his eyes would get all big, like, oh my God, I'm not kick return. But he'd run out there and he'd do it. Go cover the other team's best receiver. And he's looking at me like, Coach, I run a 5 flat. I'm 5'2". But again, he would go out there and give it his best. I mean, that's an unsung hero in my book. It might not show up on the stat sheet, but he's going to show up and he's going to grind. He's going to do anything you ask him to do. And we got a bunch of those guys on this year's team. To single out just one. I don't think Brett Menor gets enough love.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the type of kid he is. He's our smallest offensive lineman. He actually started as a sophomore out of necessity, and he was kind of one of those kids that's like, oh my God, I cannot believe we're starting this 120-pound guard. He's gonna get destroyed. He's just physically he's not there. And then week in and week out, he never hurt us. We were watching the entire game film, and I'm like, did Brett ever, hinder us in any way? And we go back and actually watch him, and he's doing a great job. Last year, he earned first team all district honors, and you know how that works. I mean, the other coaches voted for him.
Right.
They see what he's doing on the field. deal. And I mean, linemen are all unsung heroes. They never get any love. But like I said, he's definitely a guy that falls into that category. He needs to be talked about more, just with what he does for a program, just how hard he works. He's a good kid.
Has this team carved out its identity yet, or we'll find out in the fall?
I don't think we're close.
Okay.
I think, you know, schematically we have an identity in place, but I think you're not going to be able to see their identity until the end of the season, just because this is a crew who, like you said when we started, they saw the ups, they saw the downs. But now, what is this team going to do? You've seen the best, you've seen the worst. You got to make your statement now. Your chapter hadn't been written yet.
Yeah.
So, what is your identity going to be? And like I said, I don't think you can answer that until the season's over.
What's the most difficult thing to overcome in a season? Is it worried about grades, injuries, the outside noise, something else that really stands out? Most difficult thing?
It's the uncontrollables.
Yeah.
You can't control when a guy goes down hurt. You can't control. I mean, you can't control, you know, a family member passing away. You can't control,
right.
You know, a car accident, a house fire. Those things happen every year to teams all over. And like I said, I think, I'm not worried about your grades. I'll get your grades right. I'll make sure you're in the classroom. I mean, I can do that. You know, you're skipping class, you're missing practice. I got an answer for that.
Yeah.
You know, social media noise. I mean, it comes with the job. You know, I mean, I'm sure I could fish through Facebook and Twitter and whatever and find 100 negative comments about Quebec football or me or you know, you can block. I can control that. I turn the name phone off.
Yeah.
You know, I mean the outside stuff doesn't bother me. Like I say, it's the uncontrollable stuff that just pops up that, you know, and it always seems to be when things are going good, something just that is really hard because, like I said, there's no playbook for that.
Yeah. The biggest challenges your schedule brings. Do you feel like last year, when you scheduled this, you found out that a lot of these teams had veteran groups?
Yeah, I thought when I initially made the schedule, there was 4 teams who I had never coached against in 17 years. I took that on as exciting, but the unknown can be scary too. Marksville, the first time I ever seen them on a football field was this past year. South Dakota never played against them before. I never coached against Westminster before. They surprised the heck out of me. I had no idea. They had some dudes. They had a couple running backs that could play. They had some guys that, I mean, look, I didn't think they'd be a cakewalk by any means. I'm not, but like the level of talent that they had on that field really surprised me. Everybody else, they kind of are who I thought they were going to be. South Bow surprised us with their tempo, but they weren't really veteran groups. Most of these teams we played last year, they look exactly the same. They got a lot of guys coming back. So.
You know, scrimmage wise, Oberlin, Jamboree wise, do we know where we're playing?
We don't know who we're playing or where we're playing.
Okay, there we go.
I would assume we're playing North Central again. I think we've kind of settled on that schedule, like on our opponents. But now Gardner doesn't look like he's going to be ready in time, so
right.
I don't know where we're playing.
To be determined. 3 Thursdays.
Yes.
You played 3 Thursdays before?
I'm sure I have. I can't think of a specific year, but I'm sure I have. But yeah, we're starting the year, we're ending the year on a Thursday. And we got one sandwich between. I'm not looking forward to that South Bow Thursday game.
That's a hike.
That's a trip, and then having to come back to work that following morning. I might be sleeping in my office that night.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. But look, I like the challenge of a Thursday game. It's good stuff.
Before we go back to full battery, I do want to ask you about last year.
Okay.
And actually, that's okay with you. What did it mean to you as an alum to see Cecilia win the state title last year?
I mean, I love momentum.
Mm-hmm.
I love Cecilia High School. And it's people look at me kind of funny when I say I never, ever, ever want to coach there, because honestly, short answer, I want to keep the friends I have. I don't want to have to coach my friends' kids and have to make those decisions based on politics, and not that it's political over there. But with that said, I love my hometown.
Yeah.
I still live in Cecilia. I still support every chance I can. My younger kids still go to Cecilia.
Yeah.
It was a long time coming. All those kids, I watch them grow up. I see them in church every weekend. I've watched, these kids from the time they were in Pee Wee football in the 3rd grade to what they accomplished with the coaching staff, and it was just, it was special. It was so special. Regretfully, I couldn't be there. Again, my little girl had health issues, and she was actually hospitalized during that time.
I remember that's when I found out.
Yep, but like I said, she bounced back through it. We were cheering from the hospital, and I think the nurses have to calm me down a little bit.
A moment you'll never forget, right?
I'm so proud to be an alumni of Cecilia. I hope they repeat this year. I was devastated when they lost to OHS a couple of years ago. Sorry, OHS. Because I know how hard it works, and I know how hard it is to get there, and to get there and fall short. They were so fortunate to get that extra chance and that next shot. And, all the stars aligned. They got healthy at the right time. And, like I said, I could speak for 10 hours about how wonderful that season was for them. And,
I just wanted to get your feelings of how it felt as an alum.
Oh, it's like I say, it's unbelievable. You were alive when the
my older brother went in '99. And my middle brother went in '02. So
small town just means more. Yeah. These big large cities, these big New Orleans schools, these Baton Rouge schools, the Lafayette schools, the STMs of the world, they're there every freaking other year. They're a football factory, and great for them. They obviously, that's a testament to how hard they work.
Yeah,
it's different when it's a small town.
Absolutely.
The dome was rocking. You can't even see it on TV. The dome was rocking. Cecilia supports their school like nobody I've ever seen. Like I said, just to know, like I'm an alum. I'm a Bulldog through and through.
I'll be down there in a couple weeks to speak with Coach Cody. So looking forward to the conversation.
And I'm so excited for him too. Cody's a good friend of mine. We grew up together. I knew when the job came open. I was hoping he would apply for it. I was hoping he'd get it. Look, he's a phenomenal human being. He's a great guy. He's a great coach. The town loves him. The kids love him. I'm expecting big things.
Absolutely. 2024 will forever be state champs of your alumni.
That's right.
How cool is it, and how much does it mean to you on a personal level to share the field with your son?
It's just starting to hit me now. Mainly because it was his decision.
Yeah.
I tried to, I tried to be as standoffish as possible when he had the decision to come play for me. Tried to give him the positives and negatives of both. He passed up a state championship ring to come play for Dad. That hit me kind of hard. So it was a tough decision, but like last year he was a freshman. He played some JV. He did some good. He works his butt off. He works hard. I love my kid. But it was still kind of felt little leaguish. Like I was coaching him in Little League. It was JV. It was freshman ball.
Right.
It didn't really mean, but he's gonna see some varsity time this year. He's our only field goal kicker right now. Like he's gonna have to get on the field and hopefully kick a lot of extra points.
Hopefully so.
That's what I said. he had to play a lot in the spring because of injuries, and we had some situations, and that's when it started. Like, okay, he's in big boy football now, and it's exciting and terrifying at the same time because he's all hooked up twin.
Holly don't want Espen to play football.
God forbid he gets hurt. His mom will never let me hear the end of it. You know, but
Holly don't want Espen to play football, and
by then we'll all be playing flag football. You know, no, it's special, man. You know, and it's less of the sports aspect of it than it is that ride to and from the house to school every day, and we've never been closer. You know, we have a lot of deep conversations. I'm watching him grow up before my eyes, and you know, as a dad, that's special.
Yeah.
You know, we have intense conversations that I know we wouldn't have if he would not be coming to school with me every day. And look, he makes me proud. He really does. Like I said, he works his butt off. He understands the stigma of being a coach's kid. You know, he knows every time he's touching the ball, there's gonna be somebody in the stands. Oh, that's the coach's kid. That's why. You know, he gets all that. He's ready for all that. He's embracing it. The kids love him. He loves being here. But yeah, it's special, and you know, it's hard to think about like 3 years. He's gonna be the senior we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know.
new vision for the school. Coach Mack, principal, comes in, and your thought of the instant, like it seems like a cloud has been lifted where we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, and I want to be careful how I say this because I don't, you know, this is not about the old administration.
No.
And I will say this, you know, as far as Mr. Blood, when he left in May, you know, one of the things I wanted to make clear was I applied 6 different times, 7 including this one, for a head coaching position at several schools. Gary Blood was the man that said yes.
There you go.
That's what I remember. There's people here that loved him. I'm sure there's some people here that didn't care for him. You know, but like I said, I don't. At the end of the day, that's what I remember.
Correct.
Man, this guy,
A coach.
just personality-wise, just again.
So
you know,
he gets the seat that you're sitting in because he was a coach.
Yeah. He understands it. He's embracing it. He really wants. You know, he's made a comment several times. He wants athletics to drive the school. You know, he really believes that, you know, when your athletics are succeeding, the kids want to come to school more. The kids want to they want to get involved more. It just benefits across the board. Boys sports, girls sports, it doesn't matter. But he definitely has a vision that he's trying to put in place. And he's working at warp speed right now.
Right.
I mean, he's only been here 2 weeks. And I don't think he slept yet. I mean, he is out there. I mean, he was out there the other day weeding along the fence line, you know, just because he didn't want to wait for the janitors to get there in the morning. He jumped on.
Yeah.
You know, he sees something. He's very hands-on. He's getting it done. You know, I'm worried about his health. I need him to breathe and sleep a little bit, just so he can make it through the whole year. But man, he's a ball of fire, man. I'm excited.
Seems like a fresh start for the school.
I think it's definitely, you know. I don't want to say, like I said, I don't want to talk bad about the old administration. I'm not even going to say it was a necessary move, but the fact that the move was made, I will say this is the right guy. I'm glad this is who they got, because, you know, like I said, he's a ball of energy, man. If anybody's going to be pride back in the Port Barre, it's this guy. If you haven't got a chance to meet him yet, if you're from town, he's here all day. He's here. He's probably in his office right now.
Looking forward to meeting him one day.
Go meet. His door's open. You know, he wants to meet everybody. Get ready. He likes to talk. He'll tell you some stories.
Good. Some good football talk.
Oh,
They never hurt nobody. How about that outstanding booster club?
Look, they're a cut above anybody else. they're doing some great things. They're really anything we need from them they get. They work their butts off. Chris, the president, he tells them, I don't want y'all to fundraise. That's what we're here for. We're gonna fundraise for you. He tries to make our job easy, and he does. We'd love some more community help. I will say those guys are stretched thin. They'll take any support they can get. You don't have to be an alumni to be a part of the alumni association.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we have our softball tournament coming up this weekend. Hopefully, weather permitting. That raises a lot of money. They do a lot of fun little events, cook-offs at the women's. I don't know what's the Mardi Gras. The ladies' night out.
Right. Yes.
They do all kind of cool stuff like that. They raise a lot of money and helps out, and they have a good time doing it. So, but like I said, we couldn't do without them. We wouldn't have anything without everything they give us.
Some cool new upgrades to talk about. Brand new helmet sitting on the table.
Yeah. I know Coach Duke's probably not happy with us looking down. He wasn't a big fan of black. I think they were cool. This was more kind of the kids have been begging for. It was just kind of a fresh start. We're still going to wear our whites too. So it just gives us a chance to change our looks up a little bit. I do love the fact that red, white, black. There's so many color combinations and cool things we can do. Look, at the end of the day, if you're asking me personally, I don't care. But if that helmet gets kids to come out and play a little harder and they get excited about football, then why the hell not? That's kind of where I'm at with it.
How do you prepare your players when it comes down to the things that come up on a Friday night? Maybe clock management, 2-minute drill, or wet ball from a rainy night. How do you go about game planning those type of weeks?
Knowing in advance helps. Like if we know, like it makes 100% chance of rain on Friday night, we know we're about to get into. Well, if we know that on Monday, we're gonna game plan all week.
Yeah.
And then it's just a matter of trying to replicate what you're gonna see in a game like situation. Other than that, a lot of it is
probably stuff you'll do weekly.
Well, it's more about training to expect the unexpected and to be coachable in the moment. Because look, again, I've been at 17 years. This is gonna be year 18. I'm gonna see some things this football season that I've never seen before. So how do I prepare for something I've never seen before?
Right.
But it's training them to be coachable in the moment. To embrace, like, hey guys, we worked on this all week. Guess what? It ain't working. We gotta change it with 2 minutes left in the second quarter. Can I do this in 2 minutes? So it sounds easy, but I mean, as I say, it's easy for me to say it, but we just gotta roll with it, be coachable and be flexible.
Is there a moment you can recall on why you do this?
Why? Honestly, I knew when I was 10 years old I wanted to be a football coach. And I guess I was very realistic at a very young age. I knew I was not going to play football at LSU. I knew I was not going to be a future Dallas Cowboy. I wouldn't have went to the NBA draft. But, I knew, like, I was realistic enough to be able to realize, look, I'm 5 foot nothing. I'm 110 pounds soaking wet. I run a 5.5 40. But I love sports. I love football. I love the competitive side of it. I love the chess match and the militant style of battle. And I like, it was a very easy decision as to far as just, it was just kind of one day I was like, I want to be involved in football for the rest of my life. I guess I'm gonna be a coach. You know what I mean? It was really that simple.
Yeah.
That's how I came down to it. And from that point on, I never wavered really. This is what I've always wanted to do.
Every year is different. How have you grown as a coach?
I think a lot of it's understanding that every year is different. being able to put a bad season behind me, being able to learn from it and move on, being able to put a successful season behind me and trying to replicate it and move on. But I've grown the most in not overcomplicating things. Trying to find and embrace what's working and not just reinvent the wheel just because I'm bored. If don't change what needs to be changed or what doesn't need to be changed. And just enjoying every moment. Every game's different, every record's different, every season's different. Being able to embrace all the small things and being able to soak it all in and making those memories and getting to know the kids and building those relationships.
What's the most rewarding part about coaching football?
It all comes over time. To me, it's building relationships with those kids. I can tell you right now, I probably have by now over 2,000 sons and daughters, even the little trainer girls and stuff. You develop those relationships with these kids, and it's something that's really lifelong. I get tickled when I get a former player sending me a wedding invitation. Or just calling me to tell me about they just got a new job working, for a law firm or working at an insurance company. Building those relationships with those kids, knowing that they're lifelong, knowing that I'm making a difference with them. That's the most rewarding thing to me. I've watched guys go to the NFL. I've watched kids, play at LSU, play at big time Division I schools. And yes, that's rewarding, but they did that. I didn't do that. Their talent did that. Watching a guy, post pictures of his wedding day and post pictures of his 10-year anniversary and post pictures of, showing things on social media and posting pictures of him attending and being a part of his children's lives. Knowing that I had an impact on that, that's the most rewarding thing. Knowing that, look, somewhere along the line, I had a little taste of turning this young man into who he is.
Yeah. What are you most excited for this season? What are you most proud of from this year's group?
I'm most excited about the possibility of not playing on a Saturday against Bullshit.
I'm just going to count it out.
I think I just talked it into existence.
Yes. I'll see you there.
Yeah. But I'm excited for that. That's a big game, and I'm gonna keep that hush hush. But there's a big things happening on the Bullshit week from a Fort Barre standpoint. I'm very excited about what we have to unveil there. I know the community's gonna be excited about it. What was the second part of your question?
Most proud of from this year's group?
To this point, the resiliency they've had. There was very little I had to talk about at the end of the year last year about we got to right the ship. They did it. They were resilient from the start. They were just this is what went wrong. This is what we have to do to fix it, and they've taken those steps to fix it. So I'm proud of them for that shows a lot of growth on their part. I'm excited to see them.
Message to the community, alumni, as we head into 2025.
Embrace the change. Top to bottom, there's changes happening over here. We got a new boss, we got a new principal, and he's making a lot of changes. You may not agree with all of it. I told it to the kids when we met him. You might not agree with everything he did. He's going to do things different. Embrace the change. With that change, again, hopefully it's winning ways. Embrace that too. Embrace all the new stuff. Embrace the exciting new offense we're going to have. Embrace the new helmets we're going to have. Embrace the new starting quarterbacks we're going to have. New defensive players we're going to have. Soak it all in, embrace it, and let's run with it. Let's get Fort Barre back. Every time I walk in, I look at the newspaper. Let's get the community supporting like we did back in those days.
Yeah. Close us out today with the quote of the day.
I'm going to steal this one from Coach Mack. I'm talking about our new principal, Coach Mack, not the other Coach Mack.
Okay.
We have to come up with some kind of
Exactly.
deviation. he came in the other day and he said it very simple, and that's kind of how his it's his philosophy in life, his philosophy in coaching, his philosophy in running his school. Do your job. I mean, those 3 words. I mean, from the player standpoint to the coaching standpoint to being a dad, being a worker, do your job. At the end of the day, that's all you can control. Do your job and block out all the noise. Don't worry about anything else. Let everything fall where it's going to fall. If you're doing your job at the end of the day, you can sleep at night over your head up high and live to fight another day.
Final words, Coach.
I'm excited for a good year. I'm ready for the school year to start. I'm ready for football to start. I want to thank you. I think Under the Lights has grown so much in the last couple of years, and I love the idea of getting these kids some exposure and getting our program some exposure around the state. I'm always tickled with y'all have playing and pick up shows and we really appreciate. I know the kids talk about it all the time walking the hall. So Jordan picked us to lose last night. But so like I said, people are watching, man. People are enjoying what you're doing, and I know you're having fun with it, man. And like I said, that's a big part of it. You're enjoying your life and you're doing something you love. And, at the end of the day, that's all we can do.
Coach, thank you for the time. Hopefully, I'll see you this weekend at the alumni tournament.
Yeah, bring your poncho.
Bring your ponchos.
Yeah. Bring your poncho and your hip boots.
First glance of Fort Barre football will be against Oberlin. It will be August 21st or 22nd.
Whatever the Thursday is.
Okay. So that would be over there or
Yes,
over here?
over there.
Okay. First glimpse of Fort Barre football this season. You can catch them at Oberlin High School. Get out and go support those kids. They worked hard this summer and they deserve your support. And get your first look there. Can't announce a jamboree right now, but we will have that posted soon, right, Coach? As soon as you hear,
we know y'all know.
there you go. And then week 1 will be on a Thursday night this year at Crowley. So load the vehicles up, get on down on a Thursday night, and support this group. They deserve it. Great senior group, and I know it's going to be a heck of a season, Coach.
We're excited. We're ready.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Coach, always thank you for letting me come back home.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.